sounds right. FPX.
FPX.
You know what? That was a long series.
You know,
that was a long series.
You set yourself up for failure there. You didn't have to say team names.
I also could have extended it long enough to where then...
Yeah, then it's on the screen.
Yeah, you know.
It's NIP versus FPX. Looking at the draft, though, Fiora comes on through for the side of FPX.
You know, I was also an FPX like believer, so it hurts me even more that I forgot them out of the two. If I forgot Nip, they're not V5 anymore, but yeah, Fiora looks cool.
It does look cool. Very cool indeed, especially for all the French fans at home. They love Fiora and her outrageous accent. I've got it on good authority. Going to be an interesting draft. Kennen there as well. So a very wacky top lane, not something that we see too often. But Fairness up against Invincible should be an exciting matchup as Hacker having the early game pressure with the Sejuani. We so often see her going for those aggressive invades. I want to see that against Xiaolaohu.
The place I want to keep my eyes on is especially the bot lane, right? Because when you're looking at both rosters and just names on the teams, Photic versus Lwx is definitely the player-to-player matchup to watch. FPX, I love the pickup of Chocho as well. It's my first time getting to cast them with him on the Rift because Chocho was one of the best parts of anyone's Legend last year. Like, it's so weird to think about now where AL's bot lane is their biggest weakness, to where playing around bot lane was AL's biggest strength with Chocho. So hopefully him and Lwx can cement some sort of synergy and maybe even be able to start off with some wards. Some wards, not any kills. Who was hoping for that?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Zhuo watched them walk in, I wasn't super surprised that there's no kills coming on through there, but
you don't know what Zhuo wants with his life.
I feel like I do. I've watched enough Zhuo to know exactly what he wants with his life, and that is fighting. Pure aggression.
True.
That's what he wants.
True.
And do you know what? Do you know who else wants fighting and pure aggression? Chocho does. So I'm hoping that this bottom lane is an absolute banger matchup because, like you said, Photic versus Lwx is already exciting. And then when you pair these two supports into the mix, it's always going to be an absolute banger. Xiaolaohu starting bottom side.
If there's anyone who can at least be a spiritual successor to how aggressive, like, no one can match Hung. Hung seriously was like the alpha giga chat of aggressiveness, but Chocho has shown close in his days, so yeah, bot lane, big focal point, how mid laners can impact that, especially for Pout being on the rise with the Realm Warp. But for NIP, it actually might be more about them influencing their top side, even if the, I'd say, bigger name players are in their bottom lane. Having the Kennen, being able to shut down the Fiora, having the mixed damage there with your Lee Sin, and then the Realm Warps on top of it to really take Fearness out of the game probably is the plan forward.
We'll see if they're going to be able to find those advantages for themselves. And FPX at this point, desperate for some wins on the board. 1-9 in the standings. And that win back in week 3. It's a long old time ago since we saw them take down Ultra Prime. But we have seen them get games. Like, they took a game off LGD, they took a game off TT in their 2 most recent series. Like, this is a team that has shown that they can win games. It's just stringing them together. They seem to be consistent. A Hacker wants to make a play in the mid lane on towards Pout here.
Yeah, having Sejuani with the double melee. So hell, even though we are hyping up the names in the bot lane for both sides in terms of draft, there's going to be a lot about soul lane action, so a lot about these younger players, or even, you know, like people like Fearness who've been around for a little bit. Invincible's had, you know, come in and out over the past couple of years. It's about these guys really having to show their stuff up against one another. So at least not having to go up against some like big indomitable raid boss, which Shargy did just show us you could do. He put respect on 369's name in the interview and then still came out with a W. But not even having to do that, having to face your peers that you faced many times over the years in the LDL.
Yeah, a ton of times. I mean, let's talk about this top lane matchup a little bit. Like the Kennen versus Fiora. You'd assume on paper, like, range advantage for the early levels, but so far Fairness with a bit of a CS.
Yeah, having the Q available, you're just able to so easily look for those all-ins. And then a lot of the times, we actually just got a perfect example. You knew what was coming. You get to find the trade back, you know, you get the stun, and then you can try to whittle her down with the autos on the way out. But Fairness definitely having some good trade patterns with those all-ins.
Photic getting the gravitum on towards Lwx here, Zhuo. Not with too much follow-up, just a bit of damage, but winning out these trades. This Aphelios Annie lane seems to be pretty terrifying to have to play against in the early game, honestly.
Yeah, having like the Annie, which has some strong trade patterns, but also the range to be able to consistently whittle the enemy down, and then having the same kind of big bursty power spike in 6.
Yeah.
It definitely seems like she helps cover not much of the weakness, but a little bit just with that range to be able to come out, and then completely aligns with being able to blow someone up.
Yeah.
Just like Aphelios wants to do.
Not to mention, it means that Aphelios can walk forward, take those trades, and the multiple shield buffs.
Yeah.
Meaning that, realistically, you don't ever want to go for that trade while the Annie shield is in play. Like, you're almost never going to win it, regardless of the champion matchup. So, looking good for the side of NIP down in the bottom side. Good laning phase so far as Invincible crashing a massive wave over the top side. Fairness should be able to sweep most of this up because Hacker in the wings, hoping that Invincible will try and go for some kind of dive. Riposte should be available here. Kennen will be picked up. Invincible playing it careful though, not overstepping here.
Yeah, Fairness just feeling the impacts of the earlier trade that we saw him end up losing out on after he tried to aggressively go in and wasn't able to make it connect. Not able to turn it into anything here either. No sustain left up. So he's just going to have to kind of take the brunt of this punishment, look for an opportunity to recall, but at least will have that TP up to be able to get back into the play. Now here, keep an eye on the Xiaolaohu, has gone for a reset, has pickaxe.
Has pickaxe, but Hacker just going to chase him over the wall here. Care moving over, Chocho's already here. Xiaolaohu flashing, knocked up, stunned. Zhuo there to protect his teammate as Pout jumps into the play as well. And it's Hacker the one to have to try and flash away now. Sonic Wave should be up any second now. Hacker trying to dodge, but it ain't going to happen surely. There we go. First blood for Xiaolaohu.
Pout being the difference maker comes in with the Realm Warp, has a more favorable angle. Hacker had already committed with the Q. And then with how far the chase down happened, it allowed bot laners to be able to join in. So nice by NIP, turning a mistake into an advantage.
Yeah. And you know, life is circular. The play starts with Xiaolaohu trying to steal the wolves. The play ends with Xiaolaohu actually stealing the wolves. And it finally goes for that reset. And you can see the Iron Spike whip there as well as a longsword off the back of everything. So Xiaolaohu very happy with how all that panned out.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it pans out in terms of if we get like 2v2s in the soul lanes of which will matter more, like this pretty tremendous like item advantage over your opponent, or the fact you still have like Sejuani passive, just so frequently able to come out with the Fiora and the Sejuani. So Xiaolaohu now is at least huge, which I always like when you get your jungle a bit of an advantage early on, since it is the moving piece around the map. So wherever ganks come out, having that more damage, or you know, if you were to take more durability there, is always nice.
Definitely worth the investment in the early stages of the game. But a very even, very even start to things here. We're to our third series of the day. And I feel like both of these teams have been fairly Photic some trouble here. Jojo trying to get that CC up, but Photic dodging the knock-up. Now Zhuo gets a stun back out, but not really any answer coming out from NIP. Managed to keep the AD carry alive. No summoners burnt in the end, but...
No, it seems like Xiaolaohu realizing like he wasn't sure, I think, or knew we couldn't hit the Sonic Wave from there, or even if he did, the damage wouldn't have been enough. I think it was that one. He definitely looked close enough range to be able to hit his Q, but maybe just thinking, hey, I don't want to show since we won't be able to kill. Photic sorting forward. Sadly, he didn't know he was on a ward, so...
Yeah.
Was still known that he was there regardless if he was... intention was to just not show.
Yeah, full information was there. As Hacker going to find the control ward in the river here. Drake is up and alive right now with Care. Perhaps being able to find priority in this mid lane could be an option for FPX. Vision would be there for Xiaolaohu as the Scuttle Crab on their side currently. Xiaolaohu finding his Q, but I don't think that's a Q he can follow up on. It's Lwx and Chocho trying to find a bit of damage, but Zhuo stops that right in its tracks.
Now FPX looking for a bit of a cheeky play themselves, playing with Fog of War. Gonna end up giving that one up because we want to deny the vision that NIP have been able to scrounge together. And Elvis FPX on both fronts, in river and the bot lane, looking to find these engages.
Yeah, Zhuo taking a huge chunk of damage there. A great little combo from Lwx and Chocho. Just getting the feathers in, getting a bit of damage down and backing off again. Making sure that Zhuo, if he ever gets to a position where flash tibbers could be an option, his health bar's so low that he'll have to trade his own life for it.
And this game has stayed fairly even. You look across the board in terms of CS, it's, you know, all within touching distance. No huge explosions kind of really brought the game forward so far. And that's kind of understandable, I guess, when we look a little bit more at the comps, right? That definitely a lot of like elements there where Aphelios, Yone, Fiora, like these champions wanting more time to get items. I might need to pause. Chocho.
Oh, Xiaolaohu gets predicted by Hacker's ultimate. Beautiful little shot there. The run walk from Pout to keep himself alive, but Chocho could be in trouble as Zhuo has the flash available. Could go for a stun here, but won't go for it for the time being. Just going to clear the wave in the mid lane.
But kind of looking forward, right, and what these compositions can do differently is like NIP with the team fighting, with things like the Slicing Maelstrom. We were already talking about the Aphelios before, the Moonlight Vigil. That'll be their pick potential with the Realm Warp. So for FPX, your team fighting's still strong, but you're also going to be able to come out with more soul lane and side lane pressure once Care and Fearness are in those, and maybe give yourselves areas to collapse or be able to find your own picks before a fight starts. So definitely both teams indexing into their own areas.
Yeah.
That can mean, even if the game is a bit slower right now, we're really going to get to see how each of them execute their own strategies as the game goes on.
Yeah, we're going to have to see how they choose to approach this one. There's a fairly quiet one, but Drake up. Hacker starting it off. Zhuo drops a ward over the wall, makes sure that he's got vision. Both AD carries in the vicinity. Neither top laner with TP, so this will be 4v4. Zhuo, no stun currently available, but is level 6 at this point, so Tibber's on the cards. But it looks like FPX have decided they're just going to back away from this one and allow the Drake over to NIP. In the meantime, all in on the top side, Fearness taking huge damage from Invincible. The Slicing Maelstrom winning out, a stun comes out as well from Invincible. Stays near the wall, so the Vitals can't be procced.
Nice play by Invincible, realizing really the only trade patterns that Fearness can take to be able to find an advantage there. Chunks Fearness out low, and once again, Fearness playing for his life under his turnip, but 3v3 here. This is giving time for Lwx to get that wave pushed in bot, which might be able to pull Photic down. So it seems like FPX trying to at least set up a trap and go for that. So now this might open up for Drake for FPX, but we see a trade. NIP able to get midway pushed in, FPX able to get bot.
And now FPX group up to try and force this Drake, but NIP don't want to let it happen. I don't think they've got a choice at this point. It's too late. Tibber's in, but the Drake already taken. The fight to ensue is absolute chaos on the rift, but FPX, they thrive in the chaos. Pout the next target as the permafrost is there. A double kill for Lwx as FPX take control of the game.
The timing just a little bit off from NIP. We see Zhuo going in first, Xiaolaohu a little bit after with the kick. By that point, Zhuo has already gone down to where Care finding a great opportunity to ult. So FPX pick up Drake, they pick up a bunch of kills, and it goes back to what we were saying. This might be a team that is 1-9, but they have not just been getting 2-0'd outright. They have been picking up wins, and they're a team that you have to respect. Here it is, Zhuo goes in, Xiaolaohu still not exactly here. He finds the kick onto the Yone. He actually might regret this at the end of the day, giving him more space to get even closer to his own AD carry. There it is, able to go with the ultimate. It forces Photic to flash. And then with the CC there from Hacker, Lwx able to pick up that final kill. So yeah, I think Xiaolaohu especially regretting it, but even then, even ignoring just the kicks, it wasn't the end-all be-all, right? The coordination not exactly there for NIP.
Hacker might find Xiaolaohu again, but the ward hop will keep him safe. Just looking at where the gold has ended up for FPX, you know, we talked about junglers having a bit of early gold can be nice for your team, but having 2 kills on both of your carries this early on, that's pretty good for the side of FPX. 4-1 on the scoreboard. Gold almost dead even at this point, though. So still going back and forth between the teams here. As you can see, both the mid and AD carry a reasonable lead for themselves, but nothing too dramatic. And Invincible kind of answering that in the top side.
FPX has definitely started building the fundamentals as Pout.
Pout just doesn't get to move. I mean, that's how you make a gank happen.
Just run him down, and with no flash, no way to answer, no way to react. Rift Herald's up, so they're going to be able to start making their way over to this one. I wonder if we'll see Hacker lean top first, try to relieve pressure for Fearness, but he's like, Fearness, you're all right, buddy. You're on your own. We're going to get advantages elsewhere, even if elsewhere is like, we'll go with like 22 Faker mouse clicks away.
22 Faker mouse clicks. Okay, that's about 13 Teemos as an estimate, if my conversion is correct.
You know, the conversion rates between Faker clicks and Teemos aren't, you know, they sometimes aren't completely there. Like, they're a bit off. The estimates are a bit rough.
It depends who you ask.
Exactly.
A lot of the time, there are different schools of thought.
Depends what country you're into. Of
yeah,
like
true.
the
Are we
conversion
talking Imperial Teemos or metric Teemos. Like, there's a lot of variation when it comes to League of Legends measurements.
Speaking of variation,
I was going to say, speaking of League of Legends measurements, and I was really curious where you would go next.
I wish. You know, the fact that like Riot has already come out and said that like Teemos are the default, that there really isn't much wiggle room there. I'm actually just the one trying to make the push of Baker mouse clicks, but
as of literally a few hours ago.
I'm just saying, I feel like he deserves it. I feel like he's done enough.
Of all League of Legends players, he may have the most mouse clicks. It's possible.
It is possible, actually.
His APM is insanely high.
Yeah.
The only other contestants I would say are AD carries, right?
And I wonder, like, who has been playing since season... Like, is there anyone left who's been playing since, like, season 1 or 2? Like, technically Double Lift, but he left for a while,
yeah, he's
so...
taking big breaks.
You know? I wonder if there's anyone who's just played continuously. Is Fearness?
You know, the thing is, it's probably actually some random, like, silver dude that just, like, plays when he's stoned or whatever.
Oh, you're talking about overall, like League of
just
Legends.
all players?
Yeah.
It's probably no one we've ever heard of. It's probably like an Urgot main.
Why an Urgot? What?
Because I feel like if you've been playing Urgot for that long, then...
You've been playing Urgot since the start?
Yeah, you're an OG at that point, and you...
Well... Since we've
got that addictive mentality if you're willing to play Urgot for that long.
As much as I am usually the one who brings us down the random paths, and I think I was that time as well, we can't go back to the game for 1 second just so people are like, what are you guys talking about? There's a game happening. So, we've seen much. Turrets traded, both sides. NIP getting top, bringing their jungle up, their FPX going towards spot, but that's not important anymore. We don't need to recap what has happened. We need to look forward. Dragon coming up. Fearness is making his way over, but I don't know if that'll make a huge difference. Is Invincible also trying to go on the flank?
Invincible, great damage onto Care, and Pout to follow up with the round warp goes in, but he might have gone too deep on this one. Immediately stunned up, knocked up, and will be taken down. Pout completely miscalculating the play. He's a ninja in pajamas and he's gone to bed now. As the quickness comes in onto Invincible, there's no damage, so Care wasn't with the team, but now Invincible dodges away from the ult from Care. Lyric, it's a comedy of errors.
Yeah, both sides with missteps. Oh, LWX!
LWX walks into the Tibbers, but that's the support, and there's basically no damage.
No. Still, Cleanse having to be burned. At the end of the day, FPX will be the only team to find a kill, but lots of damage coming out on this mid lane turret.
Another Annie combo as someone tries to face check into that rush. When will they learn? When will they learn? It's going to be a Drake though, taken here by FPX. That'll be their second of the game. Xiaolaohu wants to contest, but he knows there's no way for him to get into that one. As NIP will be able to at least crash a wave in the mid lane, but that doesn't feel like much of a consolation prize at this point.
No, and for NIP, I mean, right, we hit on their composition picks, Realm Warp to sides, looking to play, I think, with Xiaolaohu quite a bit. You can even have like Photic and Zhuo just anchoring down the mid lane, and they'll be completely fine. That play mostly available when both your solo laners have TPs available, so you can look to combo them forward, which they both will now. Because without that, you're really just relying a lot on Invincible with the Slice and Mouse jump.
Yeah.
Because FPX just have so many different ways to jump at you. They have some bursts, they have some DPS, they're like pretty covered in terms of like that damage profile. Even if it is all AD, there's no massive tank on the opposite side prioritizing armor anyway. To where for NIP, it's just a lot of bursts where you need to be able to get all these carries right away and just take them down at the start. Hell, even if you do, you take down LWX, there's a Fiora and a Yone in front of you.
And also, take down LWX, you've ignored the fact that Care is actually the big threat right now.
Yeah.
He is monstrously huge. 4 kills on the board. Pout could be in trouble once again. Chocho wants to find this pick. The ward spotted out. Pout having a hard time of it in this game so far. A couple of misplays from him, and Care has been there to capitalize every single time.
Care being one of the players whose improvement we also highlighted since he came into the league. Yeah. Really coming in his first split as an RE1 trick. Not only in LPL, like in solo queue as well, was like hundreds of games on Ahri, single digits on anything else, but really diversifying his champion pool, improving it, working with his junglers, and really was the thing to band-aid this FPX roster when Gory was not working out.
Yeah. I remember him having kind of a big Galio stint as well, just after when he initially came in. And I feel like that was maybe like, okay, here's how we're going to force you to play with the team and become part of the unit, you know?
Yeah. I think when he came in, Ahri wasn't exactly meta, and then became meta, but then sadly it started getting banned every game, so it didn't even matter how proficient he was on the champion or not. But Care really has been, I mean, along with Lwx, who I don't know if I count as like a player to watch out for because he's won Worlds, so it's like, you always gotta have a bit of an eye on Lwx, but other than that, Care really has been the player to watch on FPX over these past couple of years.
Yeah, Care building a bit of a name for himself in the LPL. I have a question. You know, people talk about these. I'm going to hold my question. Baron has just been started in 20 minutes by FPX. I did not really expect them to just go for this, but apparently diving in NIP. 4K on the Baron. This is just going to be taken down. Can they get out with their lives is the question. They don't even want to. They're going in for more. Hacker with one off the back of the Baron. His 1-for-1 has finished. Just charges forward here. They're still going for this one. Lwx, big damage to the Featherstorm, pulls it all back in. Beautiful stop from FPX. A Baron, 3 kills, all for just your support.
They just used a Baron. They didn't even bait a Baron. They went to Baron, got a Baron, used the fact that they took a Baron to still mind control Nip to come fight them, and they dominated Nip in the fight. How does that happen?
I genuinely have no idea. This is something else from FPX. I mean, it's been a very, very slow game, with FPX just finding small advantages, and it's like, oh, 20 minutes? Is it that time already? Just time to win the game, I guess.
Chocho with the quickness, making sure that Lee Sin can't even get close, and then setting up for Care to get involved. I believe his ult only finds a knockup on the one, but still getting some nice damage down onto a couple members. But then when you have like big frontliners like Sejuani charging you, giving even more space for Lwx to then do this, everything going the way of FunPlus Phoenix. And you know, Munch? We aren't too biased here on the LPL. You know, whether either of these teams win the series, no, that doesn't mean anything to me in terms of like a personal relationship, but I love rooting for the underdog. Seeing teams at 1-9, it's kind of depressing. So if FPX can manage to pull this through and get to 2 games, I'm just saying, I'm not disputing it.
Okay, I just want to clarify, you had no power to dispute it. Let's just make sure everyone at home knows. Lyric is in no way an adjudicator of this league. The results are the results. We have no control. Please don't ask us to start the game. 9-2 on the scoreboard.
Hey, they shouldn't ask us that because, you know, we don't take breaks and we do start games, so.
That's true. That's true. If there's any league where the cast to start the games, it's the LPL. 42K for FPX against the 35 for NIP. Not a bad little game from the Phoenix squad. And a great little bit of redemption for them, right? Because, like we said, consistently going 2-1, but losing the series. A great way to start this series off.
Yeah, hopefully going to be able to break that trend this time around. Are going to end up playing pretty calm, just back off. And I thought maybe they'd just end up going for the Drake, but actually it looks like they want to stick around.
Maybe mind space and pressure for Fiora to keep pushing, but it's not going to happen as Invincible's moved over to clear that one up. The tier 2's taken in every single lane in him, tower taken in the bottom lane, and now over to the Drake. Like you said, this could be sole point for FPX. I mean, everything that could go their way has pretty much gone their way in the last few minutes.
NIP, just no, I don't even want to say answer. There's really no options at this point. We've seen this before, you know, in our last series, OMG versus JDG. But I feel like looking at comps in those games, it made a lot more sense to why like TS ran out of options. FPX's comp doesn't. Like your 2 big, hell, your 3 big carries are only going to constantly get stronger. You have a solid front line. You have multiple ways to approach fights. And they've done a nice job of choking out jungle camps, keeping up vision on that bot side to make sure that NIP, their members, aren't even able to try and get farm to try to become strong and contest FPX in any way.
And it feels kind of sad to see this NIP roster kind of floundering in the way that it feels they are at the minute. Because when you consider the 3 wins that they have, I mean, one was week 1 against Ultra Prime, one was more recently against Anyone's Legend. But they also got that massive upset against LNG halfway through the split. It was week 4. They managed to find a win against LNG. Like, that was a moment, I think, where a lot of people were thinking, okay, NIP, they're coming online, but feels like it's been a slow decline since that point.
I think it makes a lot of sense when I feel like you've lost some of the higher points of your roster that bring the high highs, and like obviously people like Pout coming in very young, very new.
Yeah. And Invincible, very dead.
Yeah, and Invincible as well. Another player who, again, who's kind of subbed in and out across, you know, narrative. Who cares about narrative? Fairness.
I do. Tell me. Talk to me.
And you know, Munch, it's gone.
It's gone.
The
the
magic's
moment's
gone.
passed. Oh,
Yeah, the moment, yeah.
Fair enough. It's not the first time that's happened to me.
Look at this turret, though. It's gone.
Yeah, just like the magic. It taking it both top and bottom lane. There's FPX moving to the mid lane as well. It's only 25 minutes on the clock, but FPX is dominating. See ya later, Photic annihilated. And the gold lead is just insurmountable at this stage. 11,000 in favor of FPX, 3 inhibs taken. And they don't have a wave right now. There we go, finally moving under. This is a wave at the bottom lane to reinforce it as well. They should be able to end the game, you would think. LWX is here.
Yeah, they're going to be looking for it. As, you know, maybe going to be able to slowly wear this down. They are getting the first turret, and it seems like NIP, they're going to be able to do anything.
Yeah, NIP will be taken out here. FPX with a super solid showing, a 26-minute win as they take over the rift here. LWX feeling good, walking forwards, playing aggro, 14-2. And NIP leaving a lot to be desired, has to be said.
Yeah, and I just love the FPX play, especially the Baron. Going for that really was the highlight. Seeing the confidence in that play to be able to go for that one. They win the fight afterwards as well. We saw them, I mean, they were just very calm throughout all stages of the game. It didn't feel like they ever needed to force too much. Like, Jungle was interacting with the laners. We saw a lot, especially in terms of that mid lane, and Care having some really great ultimates to be able to set FPX up for success in the early game. And then it felt like the whole squad just came together after that.
Yeah, I feel like we need to see a complete reshuffle for game number 2 when it comes to the approach to the game from NIP. But FPX, everything working amazingly for them. A great game. Sorry, I've got something in my eye and it is killing me. A fantastic game from FPX here. Snowballing 20 minutes, annihilating the Baron.
Plot twist, even though I said we're not too biased, Munch is the biggest NIP fan.
I'm crying, literally crying.
As, yeah, that gold graph is very telling. Again, very steady game for the first 15 minutes. It was only when we really started to see these skirmishes break out. And then that 20-minute mark, the Baron was huge. But LWX and Care able to get the job done. Fearness really was just like a pressure absorber in the top side. He would take, you know, maybe a good trade here, a couple bad trades here, get pushed in under his turret. But luckily for him, the bot side coming in strong. And it goes to Speak to Chocho, 93% kill participation. Again, a support who was very surprising to me to not see him on a roster come into 2023 when 2022 was probably his best year. But, you know, Chocho not the player to be highlighted. As Hacker, apparently, our player of the game.
Yeah, plenty of pressure coming out from him early on in the game. Great CC chains with the solo laners. Like, he was really the push that got the team ahead in the early game. So fantastic stuff coming out from Hacker. And that is going to round out game number 1 for us as FPX finding themselves an advantage. Now, I believe that the next game of the series might have already started. We are going to take a very short break, and then we'll be back